Hey, hello everyone. How's it going? Damon here, and we're just about in the middle of August, if you can believe it. And I thought it would be a good time to kind of update everyone on what we're seeing out there in the market, some trends, some things, what to look for, and just kind of how we're doing as a whole. So I know it's been a little bit since my last update, so I thought this would be a good time to kind of dig back into the numbers and see where we are. So I'm going to be looking at my screen a little bit here, but interestingly enough, we just looking at the Fort Myers single family home data. So for July of 2025, we've got about 1,500 homes that are on the market currently. Average sale price about $500,000. We sold 243 of those single family homes in July. You know, the interesting part of all that is our data shows that we're only at about 6 months of inventory. So again, when you look at month supply of inventory, if another home doesn't hit the market based on the rate that we're selling and how many homes are available, we would sell through in about 6 months. So that sounds really good, right? I mean, a balanced market is usually between 4 and 6 months. Anything above that is considered a buyer's market. Anything below that is a seller's market. But that doesn't tell the entire story, and this is also happening in Cape Coral. Cape Coral numbers for single-family homes, very similar to the single-family homes in Fort Myers. The interesting thing is, if you look at July, which again, 6 months of inventory, and you compare that to the numbers from the previous 3 months, we're down about 63% on our inventory. Now, is that because we've sold through all the inventory we had and the market's going crazy right now? No, it's not. I think what's happening is a lot of folks are taking their homes off the market in anticipation of traditionally slower times in August and September, and then you're probably going to start to see those numbers go back again in October. So don't be surprised if you start to see numbers being reported that say, oh, inventory is down to only 6 months or 5 months. That's not really telling the whole story, and that's really important. So I want you guys to be aware of that. We are waiting eagerly for the Fed to drop their rates. When that happens, that's going to be, I think, the first step in us starting to stabilize our market. If you look at the average sale price right now in Fort Myers, we're at about the same average sale price we were back in early 22. So the gains we made in the summer of that year in 22, when like May through June, July, depending on where you were at, that was kind of the peak for our market. We've kind of given those gains back, and now we're back to that number. So it's not as bad as it seems as far as where we are pricing wise, but just be aware that we're still kind of in that trend where we're heading downward, and we just want to get to that stabilization point. And I think we will, soon. I think we've got another probably 6 months of this, but once the Fed drops the rates, I think that's going to start to help, and we're going to bring some of those buyers back. So I thought that was really interesting. Condos is another story. Condos were well over 10 months of inventory, and that even 3 months ago was almost 20 months of inventory. So the condos, we've talked about that in the past. Condos right now are faced with two situations. They're faced with, the tragedy that happened in Surfside and that building collapse, and all of the restrictions and the governmental inspections that need to happen. Condo boards need to have their structural integrity reserve study done. They need to have milestone inspections. They need to look at their books and their budget more. So you're seeing a lot more assessments, things like that. So that's what's been happening with the condo. So, very different markets right now. And when you look at data, be sure that you're looking at you're looking at specifically what affects you, not the whole picture, because if you're lumping in the condo market or multifamily with single family, it doesn't necessarily tell the whole story. So just wanted to make everyone aware of that. Also, we're talking about, you may have seen this, the Wall Street Journal article that came out claiming that Cape Coral was the worst market in all of America. Based on their data. Well, our board actually issued a response in early July to that article, basically saying that, while the numbers have been down in Cape Coral, this is more looking like a market correction, not necessarily a crash like they're implying. I mean, you could only be up for so long. I mean, Cape was one of the best markets in the country for the last, say, several years during COVID. So now we're looking at, those numbers are starting to stabilize and come back down. So just wanted to share that information with you guys. What does it mean for you? Well, if you're a buyer, it means that there's a lot of opportunities out there. If you're a seller, It means that you basically have to price right. You have to make sure that you're standing out above the competition in order for your property to sell. We are selling homes. We're seeing that movement still happen, even though it's the summertime. We just did, our team did an open house event this past week, and we had anywhere between 4 and 7 couples through almost all of the homes that we had open. So just because it's summertime doesn't mean that things are necessarily slow. You just have to price it right. So still opportunities on both sides of it. Any questions, give me a call, 239-851-5600. I'm happy to update you guys on anything and answer any specific questions. And I hope you have a great rest of the summer. School's back in, so I'm sure the kids aren't happy, but the parents are probably breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief. So thanks again for your time, guys. Have a great day. Talk to you later.